I will explicitly just talk about Riyadh because I grew up there. We are a very private city. We have our own communities. It's like you have these spaces, these private spaces, and public space really wasn't a thing until Vision 2030. Once that entered and once that became like a thing that is obviously going to stay, people started really kind of meeting one another in these spaces. So, like, for example, Boulevard, when it opened up, that was a huge space for people to gather in. That was not a mall. That was not like a shopping center or like a place with a bunch of restaurants. That was like a location that had events and restaurants and other stuff, but it was like a meeting point for people. Now you have something that will create more intimate relationships, which is the metro, because you're not just in a public space, you're in a confined public space. So you will definitely start hearing other people's stories. You will start looking at people more closely because in Boulevard you have that space, but you can definitely stand at a distance and look at people. You can still stay kind of private in your public space. But in the metro, there's not really much privacy. And so I genuinely do believe that they priced it at that point to really just slowly encourage people to move from using their cars, which are very intimate private spaces, to metros, which are intimate public spaces. So, yeah, I definitely see, like, let me put it this way, a change of interaction amongst people, not just Saudis, but also non Saudis. Like, so many Saudis, especially those that do not speak English or any other languages, they are shy and do not want to interact with non Saudis most of the time. So, in these spaces, they will also be forced to kind of like interact with other people or at least see them in a way. So, it will definitely change the way the city thinks, the way the newer generations, that are going to be born in the next few years, they will be born within a city that has a metro line. I know that sounds ridiculous, when you say it this way, but as someone who like I was born at a time Riyadh was so tiny and I still always think about it. My house used to be at the corners of Riyadh. Now it's like in the middle of Riyadh because of this like boom of growth. So definitely when you raise newer generations with the idea like, you have a metro line, your city is huge, you're like you have so many nationalities and so many communities, you're basically kind of giving them a footing basically where they understand they're in a global city instead of just it being local to Saudi.